Imagine the vastness of the Iranian plateau, where warm winds sweep across arid hills and towering mountains. Centuries before modern empires, there, in those ancient lands, one of the greatest stories of conquest and civilization was born, the Achaemenid Empire. In the 7th century before Common Era, the region of present-day Iran was a mosaic of Indo-Iranian peoples, divided among mountains, plains, and deserts. Two groups stood out: the Medes, lords of a powerful kingdom in the north, with their capital at Ecbatana, and the Persians, a confederation of pastoral and warrior tribes in the south, in the region of Persis, modern Fars. The Medes, under kings like Cyaxares, had built a feared empire, even defeating the Assyrians, masters of war, in Mesopotamia. But in the shadows, the Persians dreamed of something greater. Living in tents and herding their flocks, they were seen as rustic, but their determination was about to rewrite history. Among these Persian tribes, a legendary figure emerged, Cyrus, known as the Great. Born around 600 before Common Era, Cyrus was not just a warrior, but a brilliant strategist and charismatic leader. According to the Greek historian Herodotus, his story begins with an almost mythical tale: a baby abandoned by order of the Median king Astyages, who feared a prophecy that Cyrus would overthrow him. Raised by shepherds, Cyrus grew with the strength of a leader destined to unite nations. Whether truth or legend, his rise was meteoric. Around 559 before Common Era, Cyrus took command of the Pasargadae tribe, the most influential among the Persians. His first mission was to unify the Persian tribes, divided by rivalries and customs. With diplomacy and, when necessary, force, he brought unity to the Persian people, forging a common identity. In 550 before Common Era, Cyrus challenged Astyages, the Median king. What seemed an unlikely rebellion turned into a crushing victory. According to Herodotus, part of the Median army deserted, swayed by Cyrus's leadership. The capital, Ecbatana, fell, and with it, the Median kingdom. Instead of destroying, Cyrus integrated the Medes into his nascent empire, preserving their culture and nobility. This act of tolerance would become the hallmark of his reign. With the Medes under his command, Cyrus turned his attention westward. Lydia, a power in Asia Minor, modern Turkey, was renowned for its wealth and its king Croesus, whose fortune inspired the phrase, "rich as Croesus." In 546 before Common Era, Cyrus marched against Lydia. The battle was fierce, but the Persian victory was decisive. Herodotus recounts that Cyrus spared Croesus, impressed by his wisdom, and incorporated Lydia into his empire, gaining access to Mediterranean trade routes. Cyrus's greatest triumph came in 539 before Common Era, with the conquest of Babylon, the cultural and economic heart of the ancient world. Babylon, with its massive walls and the legendary ziggurat of Atemenanki, seemed impregnable. But Cyrus, with his cunning, diverted the Euphrates River that ran through the city, allowing his soldiers to enter through the dry riverbed. The city fell without significant resistance. Instead of plundering, Cyrus respected the local temples and customs. The Cyrus cylinder, a clay artifact now in the British Museum, proclaims his decision to free enslaved peoples, including the exiled Jews, allowing them to return to Jerusalem. This gesture, also recorded in the Bible, Book of Ezra, made Cyrus an almost messianic figure in some traditions. Cyrus died in 530 before Common Era, fighting nomadic tribes in the east, but his legacy continued with his son, Cambyses Tixth. Cambyses turned to Egypt, one of the oldest and wealthiest civilizations of the time. In 525 before Common Era, he defeated Pharaoh Psamtik at the Battle of Pelusium, annexing Egypt to the empire. Despite his victory, Cambyses faced challenges, such as internal revolts and rumors of harshness, which tarnished his reputation. The true architect of Achaemenid greatness was Darius I, who took the throne in 522 before Common Era after a period of instability. Darius was not of Cyrus's direct line but proved an exceptional ruler. He expanded the empire to the Indus Valley, modern Pakistan, and the borders of Greece, creating the largest empire the world had ever seen. Under his command, the Achaemenid Empire spanned 3 continents, uniting peoples of different languages, beliefs, and cultures under a single banner. Darius was also a master administrator. He divided the empire into satrapies, provinces governed by loyal satraps, and built the Royal Road, a 2,700-kilometer route connecting Susa to Sardis, with postal stations ensuring swift communication. His vision transformed the empire into an efficient administrative machine with standardized coins, gold darics, and a taxation system that respected each region's capacity. What made the Achaemenid Empire unique was not just its size, but its philosophy. Cyrus, Cambyses, and Darius ruled with a rare tolerance for the time. They allowed conquered peoples to keep their religions, languages, and customs as long as they paid tribute and recognized the Persian king as sovereign. This policy created a diverse yet united empire where Egyptians, Babylonians, Greeks, and Indians coexisted under the Persian crown. Persepolis, the ceremonial city founded by Darius, was the symbol of this grandeur. Its palaces, with reliefs depicting delegations from all the empire's nations bringing tribute, reflected the vision of a unified world. The Achaemenid Empire was not just a military power, but a beacon of culture, trade, and administration. Picture an empire so vast it stretches from the sun-scorched sands of Egypt to the lush valleys of the Indus, uniting countless peoples under a single crown. The Achaemenid Empire, at its height, was not just a marvel of conquest, but a masterpiece of organization, a testament to human ingenuity in governing a world of diversity. Under the visionary leadership of Darius I, this sprawling realm was woven together through a sophisticated system of administration, communication, and economy. Let us journey back to the 6th century before Common Era to explore how the Persians transformed their empire into a model of efficiency and unity. The cornerstone of Achaemenid governance was the system of satrapies introduced by Darius I, who ruled from 522 to 486 before Common Era. Recognizing the challenge of managing an empire that spanned 3 continents and encompassed myriad cultures, languages, and traditions, Darius divided his realm into provinces called satrapies. Each satrapy was governed by a satrap, a trusted official appointed by the king, who acted as a regional governor. These satraps oversaw local administration, collected taxes, maintained order, and ensured loyalty to the Persian crown. Yet they were not autonomous rulers. They answered directly to the king, who held ultimate authority. This balance of local autonomy and central control allowed the Achaemenid Empire to govern its multi-ethnic population with remarkable efficiency, from the Greeks in the west to the Indians in the east. The system was so effective that it became a model for later empires, as noted in historical accounts like those of Herodotus. To knit this vast empire together, Darius I created an extraordinary network of communication centered on the Royal Road. Stretching approximately 2,700 kilometers from Susa, the administrative heart of the empire, to Sardis in Asia Minor, this marvel of ancient engineering was more than a mere highway. Along its length, the Persians established postal stations, known as chaparkhane, spaced at regular intervals. These stations were equipped with fresh horses, supplies, and messengers ready to carry royal decrees, military orders, or diplomatic correspondence at a moment's notice. Herodotus, the Greek historian, marveled at the efficiency of this system, describing how Persian couriers braved all weather and terrain, ensuring messages traveled with unparalleled speed. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor darkness, he wrote, could stop these messengers, a testament to the empire's commitment to connectivity. This network not only facilitated governance, but also fostered trade and cultural exchange across distant lands. The economic might of the Achaemenid Empire was equally impressive, underpinned by a revolutionary approach to currency and taxation. Darius I introduced standardized coins, including the gold daric and silver sigloi, which brought consistency to trade across the empire's diverse regions. These coins, bearing the image of the Persian king, were a symbol of imperial unity and economic strength, enabling merchants from Babylon to Bactria to conduct business with confidence. Alongside this, Darius implemented a sophisticated taxation system, carefully calibrated to the wealth and resources of each satrapy. Unlike earlier empires that often imposed arbitrary levies, the Achaemenids assessed taxes based on a region's capacity to pay, as detailed in Pierre Briant's work, The Economy of the Achaemenid Empire. This system ensured a steady flow of revenue to the royal treasury while minimizing unrest among. Step into the vibrant tapestry of the Achaemenid Empire, where the clash of cultures wove a rich and diverse civilization that stretched from the Nile to the Indus. In the 6th century before Common Era, this empire was not merely a realm of conquest, but a crucible of ideas, beliefs, and artistry. Under the enlightened rule of its kings, the Achaemenids fostered a culture that blended Persian traditions with the heritage of their subject peoples, creating a cosmopolitan identity unlike any other in the ancient world. Let us explore the spiritual, artistic, and multicultural heartbeat of this extraordinary empire, where tolerance and creativity flourished in equal measure. At the core of Achaemenid spirituality was Zoroastrianism, a religion founded by the prophet Zarathustra, whose teachings profoundly shaped the Persian court. Zoroastrianism centered on the worship of Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, and emphasized the eternal struggle between good and evil, truth and falsehood. Its influence permeated the empire's ethos, from royal inscriptions to the moral conduct of its rulers. Yet, the Achaemenid kings were renowned for their remarkable tolerance, a rarity in the ancient world. They embraced the beliefs of their diverse subjects, allowing the practice of Judaism in Judea, the polytheistic traditions of Egypt, and the ancient cults of Babylon to thrive under their rule. This policy of religious freedom, exemplified by Cyrus the Great's liberation of the Jews from Babylonian exile, fostered loyalty and stability across the empire's vast domains, as recorded in sources like the Bible and the Cyrus Cylinder. The artistic and architectural achievements of the Achaemenids were as grand as their empire. The ceremonial capital of Persepolis, founded by Darius I, stood as a testament to their ambition and sophistication. This magnificent city, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, was adorned with intricate stone reliefs depicting scenes of imperial grandeur. Delegations from every corner of the empire bringing tribute, and the elite guard known as the Immortals, a formidable force of 10,000 warriors whose ranks were instantly replenished to maintain their strength. The palaces of Persepolis and Susa, with their towering columns and detailed friezes, showcased the empire's wealth and power. These structures were not merely buildings, but symbols of unity, blending Persian aesthetics with motifs inspired by the art of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and beyond, creating a distinctive Achaemenid style that spoke of both strength and elegance. The true genius of the Achaemenid Empire lay in its multiculturalism, a deliberate embrace of the diverse cultures within its borders. Rather than imposing a singular Persian identity, the Achaemenids wove together the traditions of their subject peoples into a cosmopolitan tapestry. Babylonian administrative practices, with their meticulous record-keeping, were adopted to manage the empire's vast bureaucracy. Mesopotamian artistic influences, such as winged bulls and intricate tile work, found their way into Persian palaces. From the Greeks in Ionia to the nomads of Central Asia, each group contributed to the empire's cultural richness. This blending of traditions created an identity that was uniquely Achaemenid, neither purely Persian nor wholly foreign, but a vibrant fusion that celebrated diversity while maintaining imperial cohesion. The reliefs of Persepolis, showing envoys from distant lands bearing gifts, stand as a visual testament to this harmonious multiculturalism, a vision of a world united under Persian rule. Envision a clash of titans on the sunlit shores of the Mediterranean, where the mighty Achaemenid Empire, sprawling across 3 continents, faced the defiant city-states of Greece. In the early 5th century before Common Era, a series of epic conflicts, known as the Greco-Persian Wars, unfolded, pitting the vast resources and ambition of Persia against the resilience and ingenuity of the Greeks. From 492 to 449 before Common Era, these wars shaped the destinies of both civilizations, leaving a legacy of heroism, strategy, and shifting power that echoes through history. Let us step into this dramatic saga, where battles on land and sea tested the limits of empires and forged a new sense of identity for a fledgling Greece. The spark that ignited the Greco-Persian Wars was the Ionian Revolt, which erupted in 499 before Common Era. The Ionian Greeks, living in Persian-controlled cities along the coast of Asia Minor, modern Turkey, grew restless under Achaemenid rule. Chafing at heavy taxes and Persian oversight, they rose in rebellion, seeking freedom. Their cause was bolstered by support from Athens, a rising power among the Greek city-states, which sent ships and troops to aid the revolt. This act of defiance enraged Darius I, the Achaemenid king, who saw it as a challenge to his authority. From 499 to 494 before Common Era, Persian forces methodically crushed the revolt, sacking the Ionian city of Miletus and reasserting control. Yet, the involvement of Athens planted a seed of vengeance in Darius's heart, setting the stage for a broader conflict. According to Herodotus, Darius vowed to punish Athens, ordering a servant to remind him daily, "Master, remember the Athenians." In 492, before Common Era, Darius launched his first campaign against Greece, aiming to subdue the city-states and expand Persian influence into Europe. This initial expedition, led by his general Mardonius, faltered due to storms that wrecked the Persian fleet. Undeterred, Darius tried again in 490 before Common Era, sending a force under Datis and Artaphernes to strike at the heart of Greece. Their target was Athens, and they landed at the plain of Marathon, just 42 kilometers from the city. The Athenians, vastly outnumbered, rallied under the leadership of Miltiades. In a stunning display of strategy and courage, the Athenian hoplites charged the Persian lines, exploiting weaknesses in their formation. The Battle of Marathon, fought in 490 before Common Era, ended in a decisive Greek victory, with the Persians retreating in disarray. This triumph, celebrated in Greek lore, marked the first major setback for the Achaemenid Empire. Darius's death in 486 before Common Era passed the mantle to his son, Xerxes I, who inherited his father's ambition to conquer Greece. In 480 before Common Era, Xerxes launched a massive invasion, assembling an army and navy of unprecedented scale. Herodotus claims the Persian forces numbered in the millions, though modern estimates suggest tens of thousands, still a formidable host. Xerxes bridged the Hellespont with pontoon boats, a feat of engineering that awed contemporaries, and marched into Greece. The Greeks, led by Sparta and Athens, formed a fragile alliance to resist. At Thermopylae, a narrow pass, King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans, alongside other Greek allies, held off the Persian advance for days, sacrificing themselves to delay Xerxes' march. Though the Persians prevailed, the stand at Thermopylae became a symbol of Greek resolve. The tide turned decisively at the Battle of Salamis in 480 before Common Era. Themistocles, the cunning Athenian general, lured the Persian navy into the narrow straits near Salamis, where their larger fleet was outmaneuvered by the agile Greek triremes. The resulting Greek victory crippled Xerxes' naval power, forcing him to retreat with much of his army. The following year, in 479 before Common Era, the Greeks sealed their triumph at the Battle of Plataea, where a coalition led by Sparta's Pausanias defeated the remaining Persian forces under Mardonius. These defeats marked the end of Persia's attempts to conquer mainland Greece. Despite these losses, the Achaemenid Empire remained a colossus, its heartland untouched and its resources vast. The Greco-Persian Wars, concluded by the Peace of Callias in 449 before Common Era, did not dismantle Persian power, but curtailed its influence in the Mediterranean. For the Greeks, the victories at Marathon, Salamis, and Plataea were transformative, forging a shared sense of identity and confidence. Athens, in particular, emerged as a cultural and naval powerhouse, laying the foundations for the classical age of Greek philosophy, art, and democracy. Yet, the wars also sowed the seeds of the Achaemenid Empire's gradual decline in the West, as Greek unity and military innovation challenged Persian dominance. Picture a colossal empire, its banners fluttering from the Indus Valley to the shores of the Mediterranean, its palaces gleaming with the wealth of 100 nations. The Achaemenid Empire, in the 4th century before Common Era, stood as the greatest power the world had ever known. Yet, in the shadow of its grandeur, a young Macedonian king named Alexander, later called the Great, set his sights on its conquest. From 333 to 330 before Common Era, a series of breathtaking campaigns brought this mighty empire to its knees, marking the end of an era and the dawn of a new one. Let us step into the final chapter of the Achaemenid Empire, a tale of ambition, betrayal, and a legacy that endured beyond its fall. The unraveling began with the rise of Alexander of Macedon, a brilliant and audacious leader trained by Aristotle and driven by an insatiable hunger for glory. In 334 before Common Era, Alexander crossed into Asia Minor with his disciplined Macedonian army, intent on challenging the Achaemenid king, Darius III. The first major clash came in 333 before Common Era at the Battle of Issus, where Alexander's smaller but highly mobile force outmaneuvered the vast Persian army. Darius III, despite his numerical advantage, was forced to flee, leaving his family and camp in Alexander's hands. This victory sent shockwaves through the empire, exposing vulnerabilities in Persian defenses. Undeterred, Darius III rallied an even larger army, drawing on the resources of his sprawling realm. In 331 before Common Era, the two forces met again at Gaugamela, a vast plain in modern-day Iraq. Here, Darius deployed his war chariots, cavalry, and infantry in a bid to crush Alexander. But Alexander's tactical genius prevailed. Using a daring flanking maneuver, he disrupted the Persian lines, forcing Darius to flee once more. The Battle of Gaugamela was a decisive blow, shattering the Achaemenid military and opening the heart of the empire to conquest. City after city, Babylon, Susa, and finally Persepolis, the ceremonial capital, fell to Alexander's relentless advance. In 330 before Common Era, Alexander captured Persepolis, its palaces laden with gold and treasures. According to ancient accounts, he ordered the city burned, perhaps as a symbol of Macedonian triumph or in retaliation for Persian actions in Greece. The flames that consumed Persepolis marked the symbolic end of Achaemenid power. Darius III, now a fugitive, fled eastward, pursued by Alexander's forces. His own nobles, sensing the empire's collapse, betrayed him. In a final act of treachery, Bessus, a satrap and kinsman, murdered Darius III in 330 before Common Era, hoping to curry favor with Alexander or seize power for himself. Instead, Alexander, honoring his fallen rival, gave Darius a royal burial and later executed Bessus for his betrayal. With Darius's death, the Achaemenid dynasty ended, and Alexander proclaimed himself the new king of Persia, merging Macedonian and Persian traditions in his vision of a global empire. Though the Achaemenid Empire fell, its legacy endured, casting a long shadow over the centuries. The administrative systems pioneered by Darius I, such as the satrapy model, were adopted by Alexander and his successors, shaping the Hellenistic kingdoms that followed. The Achaemenid tradition of cultural tolerance and integration influenced the Seleucid, Parthian, and Sasanian empires, which carried forward Persian art, architecture, and governance. From the intricate reliefs of Persepolis to the royal road's vast network, the Achaemenids left an indelible mark on the ancient world, blending the cultures of East and West into a cosmopolitan vision that inspired generations. In the 3rd century before Common Era, as the Hellenistic empires carved from Alexander's conquests began to fracture, a new power arose in the heart of Iran, the Parthian Empire. From 247 before Common Era to 224 Common Era, the Parthians, under the Arsacid dynasty, forged a resilient and dynamic empire that revived Persian glory while embracing the diversity of a changing world. Let us journey into the rise, culture, and eventual decline of this remarkable empire, a saga of cunning, valor, and cultural fusion. The Parthian Empire emerged from the ashes of the Seleucid Empire, a Hellenistic kingdom that struggled to maintain control over its vast territories after Alexander's death. In 247 before Common Era, a nomadic tribe known as the Parni, led by their chieftain Arsaces I, seized the region of Parthia in northeastern Iran. This marked the founding of the Arsacid dynasty, named after its leader. The Parni, originally a steppe people, adopted Persian customs and declared themselves the successors of the Achaemenids. Over the decades, their successors expanded their dominion, capitalizing on the Seleucid Empire's weakening grip. The turning point came in 141 before Common Era, when King Mithridates I delivered a decisive blow against the Seleucids, capturing the strategic city of Seleucia on the Tigris and securing control over Persia and Mesopotamia. By the end of his reign, the Parthian Empire stretched from the Euphrates to the borders of India, establishing itself as a formidable power in the ancient world. The Parthians were renowned for their martial prowess and cultural dynamism, creating an empire that thrived on its ability to bridge diverse traditions. At the heart of their military might was their cavalry, particularly the cataphracts, heavily armored horsemen who struck fear into their enemies. These elite warriors, clad in scale armor and wielding long lances, were supported by skilled horse archers, whose mobility and precision made Parthian armies nearly unstoppable on open terrain. This prowess was vividly demonstrated in 53 before Common Era at the Battle of Carrhae, where the Parthian general Serena crushed a Roman army led by Crassus. Using a combination of cataphracts and archers, the Parthians lured the Romans into the desert, encircling and annihilating them in a humiliating defeat for Rome. This victory cemented Parthia's reputation as a rival to Rome, marking the beginning of centuries of conflict along their shared frontier. Culturally, the Parthians were masters of syncretism, blending Persian, Hellenistic, and nomadic elements into a unique identity. They inherited the administrative traditions of the Achaemenids, governing through a decentralized system of vassal kings and satraps, but infused their rule with Greek influences from the Seleucid legacy. Cities like Ctesiphon, their capital, became hubs of commerce and culture, where Greek-style theaters stood alongside Zoroastrian fire temples. Parthian art, with its vivid reliefs and intricate metalwork, reflected this fusion, combining Persian motifs like royal hunts with Hellenistic realism. The Parthians also maintained Zoroastrianism as a central faith, though they remained tolerant of Greek, Jewish, and other local religions, fostering a cosmopolitan society that thrived on trade routes linking Rome, India, and China. Envision a resurgent Persia, rising from the ashes of its Parthian predecessors, its banners flying proudly over a reinvigorated empire. In the 3rd century Common Era, the Sasanian Empire emerged as a beacon of Persian glory, blending martial prowess, cultural splendor, and religious zeal. From 224 to 651 Common Era, the Sasanians, under a dynasty founded by a visionary warrior king, restored the grandeur of ancient Persia while forging a legacy that would shape the Middle East for centuries. Let us step into the saga of the Sasanian Empire, a tale of ambition, devotion, and a dramatic fall that marked the end of an era. The Sasanian Empire was born through the audacity of Ardashir I, a noble from the region of Persis, modern Fars, who sought to revive the Persian heritage of the Achaemenids. In 224 Common Era, Ardashir challenged Artabanus IV, the last Parthian king, in a bid for supremacy. At the Battle of Hormozgan, Ardashir's forces decisively defeated the Parthians, ending the Arsacid dynasty and establishing the Sasanian Empire. Proclaiming himself Shahanshah, or King of Kings, Ardashir first set out to restore Persia's glory, unifying the Iranian plateau and expanding into Mesopotamia. His victory marked the beginning of a dynasty that would rule for over 4 centuries, rekindling Persian pride and ambition. Central to Sasanian rule was a robust administration and a deep commitment to Zoroastrianism, which became the official state religion. Unlike the more decentralized Parthians, the Sasanians developed a highly centralized government, with the king at the apex, supported by a hierarchy of nobles, priests, and bureaucrats. The capital, Ctesiphon, on the banks of the Tigris, emerged as a thriving hub of culture, commerce, and learning, rivaling the great cities of Rome and Byzantium. Zoroastrianism, with its worship of Ahura Mazda and emphasis on cosmic order, was elevated to new heights under the Sasanians. High priests, known as mobids, wielded significant influence, and fire temples dotted the landscape, symbolizing the empire's spiritual unity. Yet the Sasanians also tolerated other faiths, including Christianity, Judaism, and Buddhism, fostering a diverse society that attracted scholars, merchants, and artisans to cities like Ctesiphon and Gundishapur, the latter renowned for its academy of learning. The Sasanian Empire's history was defined by its fierce rivalry with Rome and later Byzantium, a struggle that shaped the ancient world's geopolitical landscape. Under King Shapur I, who reigned from 240 to 270 Common Era, the Sasanians achieved one of their greatest triumphs. In 260 Common Era, at the Battle of Edessa, Shapur's forces defeated and captured the Roman Emperor Valerian, a humiliation unprecedented in Roman history. This victory, immortalized in rock reliefs at Nakhche Rostam, showcased Sasanian military might and expanded their control over Mesopotamia and parts of the Levant. Centuries later, King Khosrow II, known as Parviz, pushed the empire to its greatest extent, briefly capturing Jerusalem, Egypt, and much of Asia Minor in the early 7th century Common Era. However, these relentless wars with Byzantium, coupled with internal revolts, drained the empire's resources, leaving it vulnerable. The Sasanian Empire's downfall came swiftly with the rise of the Arab Muslim conquests. From 633 to 651 Common Era, Arab armies, united by the new faith of Islam, swept across the Middle East. The decisive blow came at the Battle of al-Qadisiyyah in 636 Common Era, where the Sasanian forces, led by General Rostam Farrukhzad, were defeated by a smaller but determined Arab army under Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. This battle opened Mesopotamia to conquest, and Ctesiphon soon fell. The last Sasanian king, Yazdegerd III, fled eastward, pursued by Arab forces. In 651 Common Era, he was betrayed and killed near Merv, marking the end of the Sasanian Empire. Though defeated, the Sasanians left a profound legacy, influencing Islamic governance, art, and culture, as their traditions of administration and architecture were absorbed by the new caliphates.